The massive crystal dome of Unity Point Station sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars. Inside the Galactic Council chambers, 12 alien representatives sat around a circular table, their voices rising in heated debate. Among them sat Jack Thompson, Earth's representative, quietly watching as the others argued. General Krill, a tall reptilian being with battle-scarred scales, slammed his fist on the table. The hive mind has destroyed another colony. We must strike back with full force. His tail whipped back and forth, showing his anger. My fleet stands ready, growled Ambassador Rox of the warrior clans, her metallic skin gleaming under the chamber lights. We will crush these insects with pure might. Jack Thompson sat back in his chair, his plain black suit a stark contrast to the elaborate battle armor worn by the other representatives. He tapped his datapad, reviewing the latest reports from Earth Command. The room fell silent as the central hologram activated, showing the destruction of yet another world. The Praxton colony, announced Council Leader Vex, his 4 eyes blinking slowly. 3 million dead. The hive mind grows stronger with each world it consumes. Jack cleared his throat. Perhaps we should consider a different approach. Silence, human. Rox's voice boomed across the chamber. What would your kind know of warfare? You hide behind your machines and drones. You've never known true combat. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Jack noticed how the other representatives nodded, their expressions showing either contempt or pity. The humans refused to join the last 3 combat missions, General Krill added, his scaled lips curling in disgust. They claim their forces are studying the situation. Cowards, all of them. Jack remained calm, remembering Admiral Wells' words. Let them think what they want. It's better they underestimate us. The hologram shifted, showing a massive fleet of warrior clan warships. Ambassador Rox stood proudly. Behold, 500 of our finest vessels. We will launch the greatest attack in galactic history. The hive mind will learn to fear. The hologram suddenly flashed red. Emergency signals blared through the chamber. The proud fleet of warships appeared again, but now they were under attack. Massive hive mind vessels, looking like giant insects made of dark metal, swarmed the warrior clan ships. The council watched in horror as ship after ship exploded. The hive mind's tactics were perfect, as if they knew exactly how the warrior clans would fight. Within minutes, the entire fleet was destroyed. Impossible. Rox fell back into her chair, her metallic skin losing its shine. Those were our best ships, our finest warriors. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted accusations and demands for action. Some called for combining their remaining fleets. Others wanted to abandon the outer colonies and fortify their homeworlds. Jack Thompson stood up quietly, gathering his datapads. As he walked toward the chamber doors, Council Leader Vex called out, Representative Thompson, where are you going? We haven't finished our discussion. Jack turned, his face serious but calm. You're right. We humans are different. We don't rush into battle seeking glory. We don't measure courage by how many ships we lose or how many troops we sacrifice. He paused, looking each representative in the eye. While your fleets were being destroyed, our drones and satellites have been gathering data. We've been studying the hive mind, learning its patterns, understanding its weaknesses. And now, thanks to your brave sacrifice, he nodded to the shocked Ambassador Rox, we have even more valuable information. Information. General Krill spat the word. Information doesn't win wars. Jack smiled slightly. That's where you're wrong. In fact, Earth Command has already developed a strategy that might save us all. But of course, he shrugged, we're just cowards who hide behind machines. You probably wouldn't be interested. As he walked out of the chamber, Jack could feel their eyes on his back. He knew what would happen next. Soon, very soon, they would swallow their pride and come asking for humanity's help. And when they did, Earth would be ready. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss, leaving the mighty warrior races to contemplate their failures, and perhaps learn that true courage sometimes means knowing when not to fight. The Geneva Military Command Center hummed with quiet activity. Underground, beneath layers of advanced shielding, hundreds of screens showed real-time data from across the galaxy. Admiral Mary Wells stood at the central platform, her gray hair neatly tied back, watching as Jack Thompson's report played on the main screen. "So they lost their entire fleet," she said, shaking her head. "Just as we predicted." Jack's hologram nodded. 500 ships, Admiral. Their best ships, their best warriors, all gone in minutes. Commander Tom Reed stepped forward, his drone control interface glowing softly on his wrist. "The hive mind is learning from each battle. It's adapting faster than we expected." The room's lights dimmed as a new hologram appeared, showing the hive mind's attack patterns. Thousands of small dots moved in perfect harmony, like a deadly dance of destruction. "Look here," Tom pointed to a particular sequence. "The hive mind didn't just destroy the ships. It studied them first, learned their tactics, then used their own fighting style against them." Admiral Wells turned to the assembled team. "And that's why charging in with guns blazing won't work. The braver they are, the harder they fight, the more the hive mind learns." "The Council thinks we're cowards," Jack's hologram added. "They mock us for using drones and AI systems instead of facing the enemy directly." "Let them mock," Admiral Wells smiled. "While they lose fleets, we've been gathering intelligence. Tom, show them what our cowardly drones have discovered." Commander Reed's fingers danced over his control panel. The hologram shifted, revealing a complex web of neural patterns. "This is the hive mind's communication network. Our stealth drones have been mapping it for months. See these patterns? The hive mind isn't just one mind. It's billions of smaller minds connected together. And every connection is a potential weakness," Admiral Wells added. "Dr. Brooks, your analysis." A quiet man in civilian clothes stepped forward. Dr. Alan Brooks had spent years studying alien psychology, and now his expertise was proving invaluable. "The hive mind values unity above all else. It's not just about physical survival. It's about maintaining the connection between all its parts. Our data suggests that the hive mind experiences something like panic when these connections are disrupted. So we don't need to destroy them," Tom said, understanding dawning on his face. "We just need to make them feel alone." Admiral Wells nodded. "Exactly. While the Council races throw their ships and soldiers into battle, we'll attack something far more precious, the hive mind's sense of unity." She walked around the hologram, studying the neural patterns. "I want a new drone design. Something small, stealthy, and capable of disrupting their communication frequencies. We'll call it Project Silence." "The Council won't like it," Jack warned. "They believe victory requires sacrifice and direct combat." "The Council's beliefs have cost millions of lives," Admiral Wells replied firmly. "We'll do this our way, the smart way." "Tom, how quickly can you modify our existing drone swarms?" Commander Reed checked his calculations. "With the new quantum processors, 2 weeks, maybe 3. We'll need to test them thoroughly. One wrong frequency and the hive mind might detect them." "Make it happen," Admiral Wells ordered. "Dr. Brooks, I want you working with Tom's team. Make sure these drones hit the hive mind where it hurts, right in its psychology." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Jack's hologram spoke one last time. "Admiral, the Council will meet again in 1 month. They'll want answers and action." Admiral Wells looked at the display showing the destroyed warrior clan fleet. "They'll get action, Jack. Just not the kind they expect. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is think before we fight." The hologram faded, leaving the command center bathed in the soft blue light of countless displays. In the background, the first prototype of humanity's new weapon took shape, not a mighty warship or powerful laser, but a tiny drone designed to do what humans did best: find the enemy's weakness and exploit it with intelligence rather than force. The massive orbital shipyards above Earth sparkled in the sunlight, Unlike the military shipyards of other species, which built huge battleships, these facilities looked more like delicate spider webs. Thousands of tiny construction pods moved back and forth, assembling something unusual. Commander Tom Reed floated in the observation bubble, watching the construction. Next to him, Dr. Alan Brooks pressed his hand against the clear barrier, amazed by the sight before them. "How many drones are we building?" Dr. Brooks asked, watching another swarm of small, dark objects emerge from the assembly line. 10 million, Tom replied, each one no bigger than my hand. He held up his palm for comparison. The alien races build their ships bigger and bigger. We're going the opposite way. Below them, a new batch of drones underwent testing. They moved like a school of fish, flowing together in perfect harmony. Unlike normal military drones, these were almost invisible to the naked eye, their surfaces absorbing light instead of reflecting it. 10 million is a lot of drones, Dr. Brooks noted. The council races would call this overkill. Tom smiled. The council races don't understand. We're not building weapons, we're building confusion. He tapped his control pad, and one of the drone swarms split into complex patterns. Each drone is both a weapon and a psychologist. A red alert flashed across their screens. Another alien fleet had engaged the hive mind. This time, it was the proud Crystal Empire, known for their enormous energy weapons. "Let's watch and learn," Tom said, switching the observation bubble's view to the battle. The Crystal Empire's ships were beautiful, like floating cities made of light. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that could cut through normal ships like paper. But the hive mind had learned. Its ships scattered like insects, too small and quick to hit. Within hours, another fleet joined the growing graveyard of failed attacks. Dr. Brooks shook his head. They never learn. The hive mind adapts to every direct attack. It's like trying to fight your own shadow. That's why we're not fighting it, Tom replied. He pulled up the latest test results on his pad. Our drones don't attack. They confuse. They disconnect. They make the hive mind question itself. In the testing chamber below, a small group of drones demonstrated their capabilities. They created complex interference patterns, like ripples in a pond. Each ripple was designed to disrupt the hive mind's communication network. The latest simulation results are promising, Dr. Brooks said, reviewing the data. When we tested these patterns on the captured hive mind samples, their neural networks almost collapsed. They experienced something like panic. Tom nodded. Fear of being alone. Fear of disconnection. The hive mind's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. A message flashed on their screens. Admiral Wells appeared in hologram form. Progress report. Production is ahead of schedule, Tom reported. The new quantum stealth systems are working better than expected. The drones are practically invisible to standard sensors. Good, Admiral Wells said. Because we just got word. The Crystal Empire's defeat has scared the Council. They're planning something big, something desperate. Dr. Brooks frowned. They're going to throw everything they have at the hive mind, aren't they? Most likely, the Admiral replied. And when they fail, and they will fail, we need to be ready. How soon can we deploy? Tom checked his calculations. The first wave of drones is ready now. We can have the full swarm ready in 5 days. Make it 3, Admiral Wells ordered. I don't think we have much time. The Council races are proud, but they're also scared. Fear makes people do stupid things. As the Admiral's hologram faded, Tom and Dr. Brooks watched another wave of drones emerge from production. They looked so small, so harmless, nothing like the massive warships being built in other shipyards across the galaxy. Do you think it will work? Dr. Brooks asked quietly. Tom watched the drones moving in their perfect, silent dance. It has to. Because if we're wrong, if these cowardly tactics fail. He didn't need to finish the sentence. They both knew what was at stake, not just humanity's reputation, but the survival of all intelligent life in the galaxy. Luna Base's command center lay deep beneath the moon's surface, protected from both detection and attack. Commander Tom Reed sat at the central control station, surrounded by holographic displays showing millions of tiny dots, his drone swarms now in position around the edges of hive mind space. "All drone swarms report ready," his assistant announced. "Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels." Admiral Wells stood behind him, her hands clasped behind her back. "The Council's combined fleet launches their attack in 6 hours. We need to be in position before then." "They still don't know what we're doing, do they?" Tom asked, his fingers moving across the control surfaces, adjusting drone formations. "No," Dr. Brooks answered from his monitoring station. "They think we're running away, hiding. Even now, they're mocking Earth's absence from their grand fleet." The room fell silent as the first wave of drones entered hive mind territory. On the main screen, they watched through drone feeds as the massive hive mind ships passed nearby, completely unaware of the tiny infiltrators slipping between them. "First target identified," Tom announced. "A small hive mind relay node, perfect for our first test." The drones moved into position, surrounding the node like invisible fish circling their prey. Each drone was programmed with specific frequency patterns designed to create confusion in the hive mind's network. Beginning transmission in 3, 2, 1. The effect was immediate and stunning. The hive mind node, a structure that looked like a giant crystalline brain, suddenly pulsed with erratic energy. The ships around it began moving in confused patterns, like insects that had lost their sense of direction. "It's working." Dr. Brooks leaned forward, studying the data streaming in. "The node is experiencing severe communication disruption. The hive mind cells connected to it are showing signs of panic." Admiral Wells watched intently. "How are they responding?" "That's the beautiful part," Tom smiled. "They can't find anything to respond to. The drones are completely invisible to their sensors. It's like being attacked by a ghost." On another screen, they watched as the affected hive mind ships started bumping into each other, their perfect coordination shattered. Some began firing randomly into space, trying to hit an enemy that wasn't there. "Second wave, deploy," Tom ordered. More drones moved in, expanding the zone of confusion. The hive mind's reactions became more extreme. Ships that had moved in perfect formation now scattered in different directions, like a school of fish suddenly startled by a predator. "Admiral," a communications officer called out, "we're getting messages from the Council fleet. They're detecting strange behavior in the hive mind forces." "Send no response," Admiral Wells ordered. "Let them wonder." Dr. Brooks pointed to a new data stream. "Look at this. The disrupted nodes are trying to reconnect to the main hive mind, but they can't establish stable links. It's like they're experiencing something similar to human anxiety." "Anxiety?" Tom asked, interested. "Fear of being alone, cut off from the whole," Dr. Brooks explained. "For a hive mind, it's worse than death. They've never experienced isolation before." The main screen suddenly lit up with new activity. A large section of the hive mind fleet was breaking formation, retreating from the affected area. They moved like frightened animals, abandoning their positions and creating gaps in their defense lines. "They're running," Tom said in disbelief. "The mighty hive mind is running from something they can't even see." Admiral Wells allowed herself a small smile. "Send in the third wave. Let's give them something to really worry about." As more drone swarms moved into position, the command center staff watched in amazed silence. The hive mind, which had seemed invincible against the greatest warships in the galaxy, was being undone by something as simple as fear and confusion. "Message from the Council fleet," the communications officer reported. "They're demanding to know what's happening. The hive mind forces in their sector are acting erratically." "Tell them nothing," Admiral Wells ordered. "Sometimes the best weapon is mystery. Let them see what happens when you fight smarter, not harder." The main screen continued to show the spreading chaos as more and more HFY ships lost their perfect coordination, their feared unity crumbling in the face of humanity's invisible attack. Multiple holographic screens filled the walls of Luna Base's command center, each showing a different sector of space where humanity's drone swarms were active. Commander Tom Reed hadn't slept in 24 hours, but his eyes remained sharp as he directed the largest coordinated operation in human history. Sector 7 is breaking down, he reported, watching another cluster of hive mind ships scatter in confusion. Their formation is completely shattered. Dr. Brooks studied the neural pattern displays with growing excitement. The effect is spreading faster than we predicted. It's like a chain reaction of panic. Admiral Wells walked between the control stations, watching as months of planning came to fruition. Status report on the Council fleet. Still holding position at the edge of hive mind space, an officer reported. They're watching the chaos unfold. Ambassador Rox is demanding explanations every 30 minutes. On the main screen, they could see the true scale of what was happening. The hive mind, once a perfect network of coordinated ships and stations, was now breaking apart like ice in spring. Wherever the human drones went, confusion followed. New thermal readings from Sector 3. A technician called out. The hive mind is burning massive amounts of energy trying to re-establish its connections. Tom adjusted his drone formations, sending more swarms to exploit the weakness. They're fighting themselves now. Every attempt to reconnect is being disrupted by our interference patterns. The harder they try, the worse it gets. Dr. Brooks pointed to a particular cluster of data. Look at this. They're developing new fears. Not just fear of isolation, but fear of reconnection too. They don't trust their own network anymore. A massive explosion lit up one of the screens. The HiveMind command node had overloaded, its desperate attempts to maintain control proving too much for its systems. The destruction sent shockwaves through the nearby ships, causing even more chaos. We didn't even have to destroy them, Admiral Wells observed. They're doing it themselves. The command center doors slid open as Jack Thompson hurried in. Admiral, the Council is in emergency session. They figured out something's happening, but they don't know what. The warrior races are furious. They think we've been hiding some kind of super weapon. We have been, Tom smiled, gesturing to his drone control panel. Just not the kind they understand. New alerts flashed across the screens. A large section of the HiveMind fleet was attempting to retreat, abandoning their conquered territories. But their withdrawal was chaotic, ships colliding with each other in their panic to escape. Send in the containment swarms, Admiral Wells ordered. Don't let them regroup. Keep them scattered. The drone swarms moved like invisible nets, herding the confused HiveMind ships into separate groups, preventing them from forming larger clusters. Each isolated group seemed to panic more, their actions becoming increasingly erratic. Message from the Council fleet, the communications officer announced. General Krill is requesting permission to attack the scattered HiveMind ships. Admiral Wells shook her head. Tell them to hold position. Any attack now would only give the HiveMind something to unite against. We need them focused on their internal chaos. Dr. Brooks suddenly straightened in his chair. Admiral, look at this. He pointed to a neural pattern display. The HiveMind's core consciousness is starting to fragment. The isolation effect is reaching their deepest command structures. They all watched as the mighty HiveMind, which had terrified the galaxy's greatest warrior races, began to tear itself apart. Ships that had once moved in perfect harmony now fled from each other. Command nodes that had coordinated countless conquests shut down one by one. It's like watching an empire fall, Jack said quietly, not through force, but through fear. Admiral Wells nodded. Sometimes the strongest walls fall not to battering rams, but to doubt and confusion. The Council races never understood that. They were so focused on proving their courage, they forgot that true victory often requires wisdom instead of warfare. As they watched the HiveMind continue to crumble, Tom's drone swarms moved silently through space, invisible architects of the greatest victory humanity had ever achieved. A victory won not with mighty warships or brave sacrifices, but with understanding and intelligence. The Unity Point Station's council chamber looked very different now. Where once proud warriors had boasted of their battle plans, now they sat in stunned silence, watching the holographic display of the hive mind's collapse. Jack Thompson stood at the center of the chamber, his plain black suit still a contrast to the others' battle armor. But no one was mocking his appearance now. Their eyes were fixed on the tactical display showing the results of humanity's strategy. As you can see, Jack said calmly, the hive mind's forces have lost approximately 60% of their controlled territory. Their command structure continues to fragment. They are, in simple terms, falling apart. Ambassador Rox, her metallic skin now dulled with stress, leaned forward. How did you do this without firing a single shot? Without losing a single ship? We studied them, Jack replied. While you were building bigger weapons, we were building understanding. While you were planning grand battles, we were mapping their weaknesses. The hologram shifted to show the drone swarms in action. The tiny machines were finally visible, their stealth systems deactivated for the demonstration. They moved like schools of fish, creating complex patterns that disrupted the hive mind's neural networks. Impossible, General Krill whispered, his scales pale with shock. All this time, we thought you were hiding, being cowards. We were preparing, Jack corrected him. Our drones didn't just attack their ships. They attacked their unity, their confidence, their sense of self. We made the hive mind afraid of itself. Council leader Vex stood up, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped. Jack smiled gently. Would you have listened? When we suggested studying the enemy instead of fighting them, you called us cowards. When we talked about psychological warfare, you mocked us. Sometimes the best strategy is to let others underestimate you. The chamber doors opened as Admiral Wells entered, followed by Commander Reed and Dr. Brooks. The council members straightened in their seats, showing unexpected respect. The situation continues to develop in our favor, Admiral Wells announced. The hive mind is retreating from all major sectors, but we need to act quickly to prevent them from recovering. She activated a new holographic display, showing a battle plan. We propose a combined operation. Your ships, guided by our strategy. Your strength, directed by our intelligence. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. Ambassador Rox spoke first. You want us to follow human leadership, to fight like humans. We want you to win, Tom Reed said, stepping forward. The hive mind is wounded but not destroyed. If we work together, your bravery and our strategy, we can end this threat forever. Dr. Brooks added, the hive mind fears isolation above all else. Our drones created that fear. Your ships can now exploit it, but only if we work together, only if we fight smart instead of just fighting hard. The council chamber fell silent as the warrior races considered this proposal. Generations of tradition told them to reject it, to insist on fighting their way. But the evidence of humanity's success was impossible to ignore. General Krill stood up slowly. I have lost 3 fleets to the hive mind. My bravest warriors died without landing a single effective blow. He turned to Admiral Wells. Perhaps it is time we learned a new way of fighting. One by one, the other council members nodded in agreement. Ambassador Rox, who had once been humanity's loudest critic, spoke last. We called you cowards, she said to Jack. We were wrong. There is more than one kind of courage. Admiral Wells stepped to the center of the chamber. Then let's begin. We have a plan to strike at the hive mind's core systems. Together, we can end this war. Not through sacrifice and destruction, but through wisdom and understanding. As the combined fleet began to form under human leadership, Jack Thompson thought about how far they had come. The warrior races were finally learning that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from fighting the hardest, from fighting the smartest. The combined fleet approached the hive mind's core systems in perfect formation. But unlike previous attacks, massive warships now moved in harmony with swarms of tiny human drones. On the command deck of Unity Point Station, humans and aliens worked side by side, each bringing their own strengths to the final battle. Commander Tom Reed's fingers danced across his control panel, directing drone swarms through the enemy's defenses. First wave of confusion protocols active. The outer defenses are already starting to break down. Admiral Wells stood at the central command position, with Ambassador Rox and General Krill flanking her. The warrior races had accepted human leadership, putting aside their pride for the sake of victory. "Your ships are in position," Tom reported to the alien commanders. "The hive mind's defenders are scattered and confused. They can't coordinate their defense." Ambassador Rox nodded, her metallic skin gleaming with renewed purpose. "All warrior clan ships ready. We will strike when you give the word, Admiral." The main screen showed the hive mind's core world, a massive construct of living metal and crystalline processors. But instead of the perfect order it once showed, now chaos reigned. Ships moved erratically, their formations broken by the human drone's psychological warfare. "Look at their patterns," Dr. Brooks pointed to the neural activity displays. "The core consciousness is fragmented. They can't think as one anymore. They're experiencing something they've never felt before: doubt." Admiral Wells turned to her alien allies. "Remember the plan. Don't fight them directly. Let our drones create the openings. Your ships will strike only at the targets we identify." General Krill, who once mocked human tactics, now showed complete trust. "We understand, Admiral. No glory hunting, no heroic charges. We fight the human way today." The battle unfolded unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human drone swarms moved like invisible knives, cutting through the hive mind's mental defenses. Where they passed, confusion and fear followed. The mighty alien warships held back, waiting patiently for their moments to strike. "Primary control node exposed," Tom announced. "Warrior Clan Squadron 3, you have your target." Ambassador Rox's ships moved with precision, striking the weakened node with concentrated fire. The structure collapsed, taking a huge section of the hive mind's coordination network with it. "Second wave of drones, deploy isolation protocols," Admiral Wells ordered. "Don't let them reconnect. Keep them scattered and afraid." The hive mind's response was chaotic. Some ships fled, others fired randomly into space, and some simply shut down, their crews unable to handle the psychological pressure of being cut off from the whole. "Final approach to the core," Tom reported. "All drone swarms in position." Admiral Wells straightened her uniform. "This is it, the moment that will change everything." General Krill, Ambassador Rox, signal your ships. Full attack pattern, just as we planned. The combined fleet moved as one. Human drones created gaps in the hive mind's defenses. Alien warships struck with precise force, and the core world's defenses crumbled under the coordinated assault. Hours later, as the dust settled, the hive mind's core lay silent. Not destroyed, but fundamentally changed. The drones had fragmented its consciousness into thousands of smaller independent minds, each now capable of individual thought. In the council chamber, Jack Thompson addressed the gathered representatives. "The hive mind threat is over, not through destruction, but through transformation. We didn't just defeat them, we freed them from their own unity." Ambassador Rox stepped forward. "We were wrong about humans. We called you cowards because you refused to fight our way. But you taught us that true courage means finding a better way to win." Admiral Wells smiled. "Perhaps that's the greatest victory here. Not just defeating the hive mind, but bringing all our peoples closer to understanding each other." As the celebration began, Dr. Brooks approached Jack with a data pad. "The first communications are coming in from the transformed hive mind fragments. They're grateful. They say we freed them from a prison they didn't even know they were in." "Sometimes," Jack replied, "watching humans and aliens celebrating together. Victory doesn't mean destroying your enemy. Sometimes it means helping them become something better. The stars shone brightly through Unity Point's crystal dome, witnessing a new era in galactic history. The day when humanity's cowardly wisdom had saved not just their allies, but their enemies too, proving that the greatest courage often lies not in how you fight, but in daring to find a better way.